myself on mute for now.
All right, guys, this is Mark Holty, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, coming to you live today in another EE Live Q&A session just for all of you. I saw the other day we crossed over 112,000 members of our quickly becoming massive Facebook group, all designed to answer your questions regarding express entry. Today, I'm excited to have a special guest with me, and he has been extremely patient. Because last week, if some of you recall, I wanted to get him on, and then I had problems with my Skype. Skype is the mechanism that I bring in my guests, and there was a little bit of an issue with it. It was my problem, actually. It wasn't when I was trying to install it, I had issues with my password. But I figured it all out. It's all good to go, and graciously, Vishal has agreed to come and join me again. Today, we're going to be talking about the Prince Edward Island PNP, which is the mechanism or the process that Vishal went through to secure his confirmation of permanent residence just recently. So we'll wait for a few minutes for everybody to find the video feed again. In the past, I've just jumped in a little bit quick, and people who've been trying to find it after I close off the other video leading up to this one. Eventually, I'll figure out how to just keep doing it without having to restart. But at this stage, it takes me too much time to delete all of the countdown video footage for those who are watching this on YouTube and those who are tuning in right now to watch it. So let me know, as always, where you're tuning in from. I love to hear where the guests, where you guys are all watching this from. I know that some of you, it's pretty late where you're watching, but we've got listeners from literally all over the world. So just let me know, and I'm going to connect my own little computer here so that I've got the live questions here, and I can answer those when the time comes. One of the things I did remember to do this time was to turn on my mic, which is another problem that I've had in the past. So I'm pretty happy that I managed to do that properly this time. All right, so let me just see if I can find the video on my own little iPad here. And if you just refresh your timeline, well, I guess if you guys are watching it, you'll know it's live. Okay, good. People are piling in here, which is awesome. And let's see what we've got here. Oh, we've got Dubai. Oh, Majoram. Did you know that my son is going to Trinidad? He is. I see you're listening in from Trinidad. That's really cool. But as many of you know, he tore his ACL, so he had to come home, have surgery on June the 8th, and then he's going to be heading back down once he gets his visa and everything for Trinidad. So great to have you join us. Mehrab, welcome. Let's see, who else do we have here? We've got Rakshith, and he's already asking questions, which I'm not going to answer until the time comes. We've got a whole bunch of people here. Shkofa, we've got Niha, Shurat, regards from India, welcome. Zed, 3 a.m. Japan. Zed, you rule. That is crazy that you're up that time. Great to have you join us. Jian's from India. Samita, hi, how are you? Suresh, I'm doing awesome, Suresh. Grateful that you could join us. So we've got, and Samita is here as well. So I know a lot of you guys are tuning in, and without further ado, let's jump right into my interview with Vishal. And so I'm going to pull Vishal up here. Let's see. I think I can get him. And I'm going to shift, and I'm going to put us both here. Ah, we are here. Welcome, Vishal. It's great to have you with us.
Hello, Mark.
Now, as we go through this process...
Hello to everyone.
Oh, sorry.
Hello to
cut you off.
No worries. Just hello to everyone also.
Excellent. So what we'll do is, as we're going forward, I've got a couple questions I'm going to ask Vishal. And, I'm also going to open up a few questions to listeners as well. Are you prepared for that, Vishal? Are you prepared for some live questions?
Yeah, sure, Mark. It would be my first experience, but definitely I'm up to all.
Awesome. That's what I love to see. People who are willing to take chances and do some new things. Obviously, all of you guys are willing to do that to some extent because you're looking to leave your homes and move to a whole new home here in Canada. So that takes a little bit of an adventurous spirit as it is. All right. So, Vishal, tell us a little bit about yourself. What do you do for a living?
So, Mark, I am into IT. I am into development. And I have I have nearly 7.5 years of experience till now, and I'm more into Java, and that's what I will try to find once I land in Canada.
Excellent. Well, I know one thing I know is that if you have a drive and ambition, that it will result in opportunities. And those who expect things just handed to them are often going to find that it's a lot harder to find a job. But if you're a go-getter, as we say in Canada, and you are keen on finding a job and you're willing to work and do the, put the effort in to find the job, you'll be able to get it for sure.
Yes,
all right.
Yes.
So tell us, when did this journey, or at least your decision to come to Canada or to apply to come to Canada, when did that start for you? How long ago was it?
So, Mark, I started nearly 2 years back, and from 2016, let's say from March, I started with the IELTS exam and the WS evaluation and all. I was able to complete it just by July 2016. And then after that, in July 16, I was able to submit my application to Express Entry. That was one milestone in all together. Then my first attempt my somehow application went off track, and I became ineligible in another 6-7 months. Maybe due to there were some changes in the money to be brought in Canadian dollars. So I think that went wrong somewhere, and my application became ineligible.
Okay, so I'm going to stop you there for 1 second. So this journey of yours was not simple and straightforward. You actually applied and then were found to be ineligible.
Yes.
And that was as a result of something that you had mistaken, or a little error that you'd made in interpreting what they wanted. And in this case, it related to your funds and what you needed to show, correct? Can you talk a little bit more about that?
So what happened that initially what I showed them the funds, it was just the Express Entry application. What I showed them the funds, I think Canadian government CIC has updated their funds requirement somewhere in 2016 end, I suppose, or 17. And that time my application became ineligible, and I was no more eligible to be in the pool. So then I was not sure for some time that what happened wrong. And then in the meantime, many times I had also referenced your page where I got many of the information I looked out there. And then again, after a month or so, I again recreated my Express Entry profile and submitted it. And that's when it was in the pool for another 6-7 months. And in the meantime, I was also trying out for various provinces through PNP programs. So I was aware of the PEI, where we had to send the notification of interest through mail, which I did that multiple times. In fact,
how many times?
I think I did twice. Bi-monthly I did it. That's
so you
did
it twice a month.
And
so you guys need you guys need to understand that this is not some simple process, and those who are successful had to work at it. And one thing that I found that makes me happy is that Vishal was able to come back to our group and get information and guidance to help him along the way. But you're saying initially you went through, did you just submit your profile through just Express Entry? And then did you receive an ITA at that time?
No. Okay. At that time I didn't receive.
But your profile became ineligible because the funds that you listed were too low. So so basically for the listener, just that they understand, when you are applying to immigrate and you have to show proof of funds, there's a certain minimum level that you need to meet. And I'm assuming from what Vishal indicated here that the amount he listed was the old amount, probably.
Absolutely.
So then in the next year, every year they adjust it up. So one tip that you want to pay attention to is to always show more than the minimum that's needed, in case that amount goes up and then you don't realize it. So I always like to include a little bit more than the bare minimum.
Okay. Yes, absolutely, Mark.
So then you submitted a new profile, and then you started hunting around for PNPs. You probably looked at everything. Did you
Yes.
look at Saskatchewan? You looked at, Ontario and all these other places.
Yes. So, he said, so in November end 2017, I received a notification from Prince Edward Island. And to be very true, I received a notification. I was not believing that this is true. I thought it's fake.
You thought
Then
it was fake.
yeah, and then I had to validate it, that it's original. And then I thought, and I found that yes, it is authentic. And then I moved ahead with all the processes like submitting them the required documents and whatever means they were requiring some 300 Canadian dollars as a receipt. So those were all processed, and which is fine. And luckily in January 3rd, I received the ITA. Yeah,
The
I
ITA.
received yes. So that was the best part. And that was really a dream come true because I had been trying so long. Just I wanted to see how it looks.
Yes.
Yeah.
Now, I've got a question for our listeners because I know that they're going to be thinking the exact same thing that I'm going to ask. So you submitted your profile and
Yes.
then you applied through the
Yes.
PNP. Once you received the nomination, did you have to go back and update your Express Entry profile to confirm that you had the nomination to get the 600 points? Or was there something automatically adjusted within your profile that confirmed that you had a nomination from Prince Edward Island?
So what happens is that once I receive a nomination from any of the provinces, they ask me to accept it on CIC profile. Once I accept it, 600 points get automatically credited to my account.
So you received a notification through your Express
Yes.
Entry profile that PEI wanted to nominate you.
Yes.
Did you want to accept that?
Absolutely, yes.
And I can imagine that you were celebrating. You were like going,
Yes, yes,
celebration, this can't be true.
yes, absolutely. I was very happy
Oh, I can imagine.
to receive. Yes. And then I received the ITA, and then next journey started, which was gathering all the documents, the NOC confirmation letter, and hell lot of things. Those were all required by the CIC in their proper format to be verified for the background verification and all. I took some, and there is one more thing that, as I mentioned earlier, my journey started in 2016. So I also has a time limit that because my IELTS score were getting expired this year, because that is valid only for 2 years. So my IELTS score were getting expired during March 16th of this year, 2018. So I had a limit, even though CIC gave me it gave me 90 days to complete my application, but I didn't have 90 days because I had to submit, means I had to get the AOR before March 16, 2018. So I was able to complete it by February 22, and I submitted my AOR, got my AOR there. And then I was waiting for other processes to get complete, ITA1 and everything. And then on 17th this May, I received the PPR, which was another dream come true.
Yes.
To be very true.
That is wonderful. And then
Yes.
you sent your passports in and you have your confirmation of permanent residence now.
Yes, Mark. So yesterday I received my passport and COPR.
Awesome. I was
Yes.
wondering because last week you hadn't received it yet. So now
Yes.
you are. So that's
Yes.
super exciting. Okay. Tell us about the program within the PEI PNP. Which one did you go through?
By program, you mean my NOC?
No, the category through the provincial nominee program, the PEI. Which
Yeah.
category did you go through?
Okay, so I applied as a federal skilled worker, and in that I applied as PNP. Means I received the PNP, and then I was able to get through all the processes.
Okay, perfect. Well, that's awesome. So when you were going through, how many comprehensive ranking system points did you have before your nomination?
So I was submitting with my wife, spouse, and me were submitting the application. So combining all the scores, it came around 360, I suppose. So we were too far than the to get to be picked up in the general category.
Yes.
So yes, so that was the main reason I was looking out for PNP. And so if so, I would give a suggestion to everyone that keep on trying, keep on trying. You don't know when the luck would favor us, and we would be through this, because it's just a matter of chance that it's sometime it definitely luck will help us. It's
Absolutely. Yeah, there's a little bit of luck, but there's a lot of hard work too.
Definitely. Because once I received my ITA, then I saw that CIC needs proof of whatever information we are filling in. We can't just put anything up there in the application. They need to verify everything, and the most important is the NOC verification letter, the reference letter. That is very much important, and we have to procure it in the right way so that we can prove them that yes, this is what we were doing and we would be.
Yes, I agree. The document section is the single most important. And for those of you who are tuning in, I have a complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself. And I just recently updated the document section because the government has been messing around with it a little bit on me. So I had to re-record a new lesson associated with the document checklist. So you'll want to check that out if those of you who have subscribed to the guide. All right, so talk about now you're planning on traveling. So when are you looking at traveling?
As I just received my passport, so I will be booking my tickets by tomorrow, I suppose. I will be booking my tickets, and we are planning to move to PEI by August end.
Wonderful. Wonderful.
Yeah, and here also I want to just give a suggestion to everyone that the reason I'm moving by August end, that I want to be soon there, as in winters the job gets slowed down in Canada. So it's better the sooner we land. That's why I'm trying my best that I can do my landing by August.
Yes, excellent. Well, it looks like our connection is just hanging on. We had a little bit of a glitch there, but we still have you. So I'm super excited for you and your family. This is going to be just a wonderful new journey for you. I really appreciate you coming on and sharing your story a little bit and your success. And so the moral of the story, at least from my perspective, is how important it is to just keep fighting and keep trying. And so everybody's going to run into problems at some point in time. And as long as you've got an awesome little group like ours and resources to support you and people that you can trust, you can do it. And obviously Vishal is an example of that. His CRS scores were not super high, but he was, yes, lucky, very lucky. And so I want to wish Vishal all the best and his family as he enters this new phase of his life, this new journey. So thanks so much, Vishal.
Mark, just one thing I want to ask. I want to tell everybody that, guys, there is please ask rather than just doing and filling up the everything. Please ask. We have a very nice forum here, which Mark is representing, Express Entry Law, and please ask him as he has too much of information, and there are very much people helping us, and this really helps us to get through all this because there are some ambiguous questions out there which we don't have straight answers, and this is the only way we can find ours.
Yes, great tip. That's an awesome tip. All right, thanks so much, Vishal. I appreciate you joining us.
Thank you, Mark.
Okay, you take care.
Yeah, same to you. Thank you. Bye-bye.
All right. Well, that was great to have Vishal join us, and he was super, super gracious in his answers, and you could see that he's just one of those guys who just kept at it. He just worked at it, and eventually he found success. And I can tell all of you guys, and I will reiterate once again, that Express Entry may seem easy on the surface, but there are tons of spots within Express Entry where you can be confused, where you can be tripped up. And every day I see them as I'm filing applications for my clients. It's only the wealth of background experience and the number of applications that we filed that helps me to make sense of these little changes that the government makes, whether it's changes to the police clearance requirements or whether there's changes within the document checklist. And so lots of times there are things that are just you're not sure how to answer it. And so, yes, our Express Entry Law group is a wonderful resource for people, and that's why I created it. Also, remember, there's always my Express Entry complete step-by-step guide to doing it yourself, and I'll put a link in the within the comments to that, as well as the description. And ultimately, many people who have just run into a wall and are not sure how to deal with something can't find the answer. I am always available to have a paid consultation with you, and usually in about 30 minutes, as you can see from all the testimonials within our group. Usually in about 30 minutes, I can answer most of your questions. So, and in fact, the very first question that I'm going to answer now is from my good friend here, Wakas, who is a part of our group right now, and I know he's tuned in and he's watching. And this is a question that he had asked earlier in our consultation that he forgot to ask it. And so I said, you know what, Wakas, I will answer it in our live EE Live Q&A just for you. So this is the first question that he of our EE Live Q&A today. And Wakas, you can just give me a thumbs up here so that everybody knows who you are, and you are the source of this question. So the question is, thank you, sir, for your time. There was one question that I forgot to ask. Do I need the funds to be in my account before receiving the ITA, or can I get them deposited after I get the ITA? As I will be arranging them by selling my car and will provide a proof of sale to IRCC to verify the funds. I assure you this is the last one. There's no problem, Wakas. There's no problem at all. And so this question, when it comes to funds, I always tell my clients that it is a good idea to have those funds in your account and actually build those funds up through your own efforts, through your own work, through your own savings for at least 6 months, and have those in your account for 6 months before you submit your eAPR. Now, when you're filing your profile, you need to indicate how much funds you have. And you never want to say that you have money that you don't. But in the case of Wakas here, who has a vehicle, well, that is yours. So you are safe to put in your proof of funds within your profile. That is the equivalent of whatever assets you hold. I would never want to put a number in there that you don't really have the money for. I would make sure that whatever number you do put in, obviously it has to meet the minimum threshold. Otherwise, you're not going to be eligible for the pool. You won't even be able to submit your application or your profile into the pool unless you can show or that you've listed the minimum proof of funds. And many of you who are watching, I'm sure you're probably well aware of this, but I'm going to share my screen quickly for those who are new to this. And I'm going to punch in here. Actually, I'm going to share my screen with you guys right now. And there it is. I'm going to blow this up nice and big. And then I'm going to search up here, proof of funds, EE, and let's see what pops up. So right here, you can see there's a minimum amount. And this is also what I was talking with our awesome guest today. Every year, it seems like these go up. Now, it isn't always the case. It varies. But this is the amount that you have to have at a minimum in order to even get your profile submitted. And so when you're going through this process, and I'm going to flip out of my screen again. So when Wakas is going through this process, he needs to obviously indicate that he has that funds. But when do you actually need to prove it? Well, at the time in which you submit your eAPR, the government asks us to provide a letter. And that letter has to have certain things on it. So I'm going to jump back here and I'm going to share my screen again. I'm going to blow this back up. And then I think I've had some other situations here. I'm going to go right here and I'm going to search for funds right here. And this is what the government is asking for. They want you to provide a letter. And the letter needs to be printed on your financial institution's letterhead. And it must include your name, the contact information for the financial institution, the account numbers that you have with them, the date each was opened, and this is the key part, the current balance for each account as well as the average balance for the past 6 months. So obviously, in the case of Wakas here, where he's trying to claim his, well, basically he has the asset in his vehicle that he's going to sell. Well, it's kind of hard to show that in a letter. So the best case scenario is to be able to show that you've had those funds, at least that average amount in your account for the past 6 months. If you can show that, you're never ever going to have any issues. That's going to be that's exactly what the government wants. But not everybody can. And so if you can't show that you have the full amount in your account for the full 6 months, it's not going to be something that's going to get your application refused. But an officer will then want to know, okay, well, where are the funds coming from? So if you have a cash injection from, say, a vehicle or something like that, then obviously that cash injection, you're going to be able to show where the money came from. Here's my vehicle. I sold it. Here's the bill of sale. And that's where the money came from. It was transferred into my account. Or, maybe you're paid by cash. I'm not sure. It depends on, how you're paid in different countries. But the deposit coming in is from that vehicle, and you can track that. And so that's going to be acceptable. There's not going to be an issue. Others of you will get gifted money from your family. And we've talked about gift deeds in the past and things like that to prove that that is actually your resources. But the key for everybody to understand is that if you've got a letter that meets exactly what we have right here, then that's the best case scenario. If not, then there's always risk with your application, and an officer has to be satisfied that you actually have those funds sufficient in order to be able to settle in Canada. And as you can see with Vishal, he is going to the Prince Edward Island. He doesn't have a job, so he needs enough resources to support him and his family until he can get a job and get settled. And so that's why they ask for those amounts of money. All right. So great question. Great question, Wakas. And now I need to make sure that I'm making a note of when I answered these questions. And so I'm going to have to go back and search that one, but that's okay. Okay, so moving on now to the next question. I had quite a few. So this one is Umair. And Umair said, "Hi, Mark. This is with reference to your recent post where you invited questions from members." Great, Umair. "If you could recall, I had a consultation session with you before." Oh, Umair. Okay, great. He said, "I had a consultation before submitting my eAPR. I submitted the same on February the 28th, 2018, and it's been 3 months." Okay. "So far, the medical has passed and the background check has not started, though the processing times are 6 months and my application is pretty well within the 6-month processing time. I'd like to know what options do members have apart from ordering the notes," and those are the GCMS notes. What is the importance of the notes? Okay, I can tell you guys that 99% of the time, that those GCMS notes, you're wasting your time. Having knowledge of what the notes say is not going to speed up your application. Remember that the government's posted service standard in terms of processing times is 6 months for 80% of the applications. So only 80% of the applications to meet their stated goals are to have those processed within 6 months. And some of you guys are freaking out if your applications are delayed a month. Oh my goodness, what's happening? Well, in your case, Umair, you just need to be patient. It's well within the processing times. Ordering the GCMS notes are not really going to add anything to it. They're not going to help you with getting the application processed faster. If you want to see exactly where your application is at and you're curious, well, sure, you can do it. It's not a big deal. But ultimately, if the processing times are beyond 6 months, that's when you can start to make access to information requests. You can go through a case-specific inquiry that you can do through the government's website to inquire on the status of your application. So you can do that, but I never would want to do that until after 6 months because the regular processing times are within that period. Yes, some people it happens faster, but not everyone. So you just have to be a little bit patient with that. Okay, great question. And so I think we're doing good here. All right, so that was a good one from Umair. Thank you for asking that question. Okay, and now the next question is from Jawdat. Now this one from Jawdat is a little bit longer, but I'll try to zip through this one here for everybody. I want to thank you so much for your videos and help. I'm going to book a consultation with you soon, as this is what I can afford at the moment. Even the silver plan is quite hard. Yes, and guys, I know my legal fees are expensive. They are. But the reality is it's demand, right? Supply and demand. And so it's impossible for me to provide service to every single person who wants to hire me. And so the only way that I can do it is by increasing my rate. And those who can afford to hire me, then they're the ones who are in a better position to pay my legal fees. Remember, I'm in Canada. I'm not in India. I'm not in Nigeria. And the cost of living here in Canada is substantially more than it would be in your countries, at least generally speaking. And so that's why my legal fees are not the same. And if you were to prorate what often they're charging in India compared to the cost of living, I would wager that the fees that I'm charging are probably even a little bit cheaper than what you're being charged there. But that's just my own speculation. So anyways, Jawdad, I look forward to having a consult with you. Okay, he says, please seek the question in my presentation, as I'm not trying to get you to assist my eligibility. I just want to understand, if I book a consultation, what should I focus on with you? Okay, I'm wondering now, Jawdad, if this is even a question for our group. Okay, he says, I'm a Syrian artist. I teach guitar here in Dubai since the past 5 years, and I'm a music composer. I have an album in the Virgin Mega stores here, and is one of the best sellers since 2016. Jawdad, if you're watching this, you need to post in the comments. I see right here. It's amazing that you're answering. Okay, Jawdad, then you need to provide us with a link so that we can check out your music. That would be so cool. So put a link into your Facebook page or wherever people, even within the Virgin Mega store, your music, because that would be awesome. We'd love to see that. And I know that the other group members would like it too. So yes, so Jawdad, put in the comment section. Okay, so here's the question. But I did study music. Okay. But my wife is a violinist as well, but she has a bachelor's degree. She is Polish. I established a music institute to teach here as a freelancer in the UAE. My question is, how can anyone apply for self-employed immigration as a person of cultural activities? I read the official website and I did the eligibility test, and it said that I might be qualified as self-employed. Well, that is the case. So Canada does have a self-employed category that is different. It's completely different than express entry. And there is a process for going through that. If you are someone who is well recognized as in your field and you're someone of notoriety, then there is possibilities for you to be able to go through that program. But if you're being paid, even if you're doing it as a freelancer and you have your own music institute, if you're being paid, you're still a business owner. And as long as, being a musician is still considered a skilled occupation, and so you may very well qualify. It just depends on all of the other things. It depends on education, all your other human capital. And so, Jawdad, I'd be happy to work through it and take a look and see what your eligibility would be. And we can discuss that in a consultation. So don't hesitate to reach out to me. But your question is valid. Just because you're a musician, if you're being paid, or an artist, a painter, or you could be a singer, those people, you can qualify under the skilled work category, the federal skilled worker program, if you can demonstrate that the work that you're doing is full time. So it meets that minimum 30 hours a week threshold. And it can amount to a lot of different things, right? When you're working, and you could be, you could be composing music. You could be doing a bunch of different things. And business owners, even me, I'm within a law firm, but for all intents and purposes, I am an independent contractor. Well, not an independent contractor, but I have my own practice. And I think about my clients. I think about the work I'm doing every single day. And even if I'm not spending time physically seated in my office here, I am nonstop. It's hard for me to escape thinking about and working on my practice, even when I'm outside of the office. And you guys have seen videos that I've been doing even when I've been out at our family's cabin. And so there's lots of ways to demonstrate that full-time work. And so there's lots that we can talk about, Jawdad. So thanks for your question. It was a really good one. All right. So we'll put that one aside. All right. The next question here is from Dorina. And Dorina states the following. And so Jawdat says it's under my name and on iTunes. Well, give us a link, Jawdat. I want you to put the link in. Don't make us work. No one's going to hunt it down. That's what I've learned. You need to put the link, so all people have to do is just click. All right. Next question is Dorina. And Dorina says, Dear Mr. Mark, my compliments for your infinity efforts to help and assist us in every immigration application issue. You're welcome, Dorina. Please, I have a general question, and if you think that that's an important issue also for others, I'll look forward for your helpful explanations. And Dorina, I really appreciate your email because sometimes people send me these long questions that are very specific, and they're basically something that I would charge because they are specific legal advice. And then they get upset when I don't answer them here in this forum. Well, this forum is for general information, and it's not designed to specifically answer whether someone is eligible or whether a certain aspect of their unique circumstances, whether they should do this thing or that thing. It's designed to answer questions that will be of general help to the 112,000 people in our group. And so I appreciate you recognizing that. Okay, let's see what your question is here. So it says, oh, I see. We've got a notification here. I didn't even see this. Okay. All right. So the question says, oh, I see. Okay. So your question here is regarding the upcoming changes to biometrics. And she says, please attach to this email. It's a new notification for some changes about fingerprints and photo requirements. Okay, so all of these things are all biometrical requirements that are typically associated with temporary entry. So people that are coming to visit or study or work in Canada. Canada is instituting a more broad-based biometrics requirements that are going to be rolling out. And this doesn't relate specifically to express entry, other than to say, Dorina, that it doesn't, those kinds of things don't apply to express entry because you're already going through a very onerous process of providing police clearances, and the government is doing security and background checks on you in the course of your PR application. And so the biometrics mostly affect people who are looking to come temporarily to Canada to make sure that the people who are actually applying are the ones that said they are applying, and also to make sure that people are not fraudulently using other fake passports or other things to submit applications, new applications, when they've had other applications refused through another name. And so the biometrics allow them to make sure that whoever's applying is who they say they are. Okay, and so that's basically that's the question, and that's the answer, Dorina. So great question though about biometrics. Okay, next question is look at this one. This is awesome. And we'll see how many we can get through here. But this question is from Mauricia, and Mauricia is one of the moderators within our group. And I'm really, really appreciative for the efforts that she takes in helping to keep our group safe. In other words, that there isn't anyone publishing or posting anything that would be inappropriate, or basically just making sure people are following the rules. So thanks, Mauricia, for all that you do. I really appreciate your help. Okay. So Mauricia's got a couple questions here, and I'll answer a couple of them. She says it's concerning family, PCCs, and passports. Okay, so the first question is about family members. If a person has family in Canada, uncles and aunts, who are citizens and declared, this is in the minimum entry requirements for the Federal Skilled Worker Program. Yes, 67 out of 100 is the threshold. If I do not declare the family, I will still be qualified to immigrate to Canada as my score is 91 out of 100. But I do not want to misrepresent any information in my application. So I declared my family. However, do you have to provide the information on family in the eAPR if you do not want to involve your family members in your immigration plans? This is a great question. And I've actually had this come up with other clients. So the first thing I always say is, yes, you absolutely need to disclose them. And when you do, it's more than likely going to trigger a need to fill in information for those family members within your checklist for your eAPR. But here's the thing. Whenever I have anything that's asked of me within the document checklist of the eAPR, I do my best to provide it. And I know sometimes it can be a real hassle and you don't want to bother family members and things like that. But I will often do it just because I don't want to take any chances. You can't misrepresent and say that you don't have that uncle and aunt. You never want to do that. And at the same time, it's going to amount to a little bit more work. And so, it would be nicer not to have to do it. But my first comment is always use your best efforts to just provide it. Things are going to go a lot smoother. If you can't, and it's really going to be a hassle, then you can provide a letter of explanation stating exactly what you've stated to me here, Mauricia, that you have more than enough points. You don't want to claim any of those points for the federal skilled worker program because their uncles and aunts are only useful for getting that extra 5 points within the 100-point threshold of the federal skilled worker program. And so you can provide a letter of explanation in the spot where you're supposed to upload and say, look, I haven't provided it. I can't get it. I don't need it for my eligibility, the minimum entry criteria, eligibility criteria. And so that's why I haven't included it. So you can do that. You totally can. An officer can come back and, they can have questions just with anything. But in these circumstances, that's kind of how I usually advise my clients. Okay, I'll answer just a couple more questions here, Mauricia, because I don't want to have it take up too much time. So this one is about family, so I'm going to make sure I put that one in here. And the next question is about the police clearances. Okay, and passports. Okay, what do you do when there are missing entry and exit stamps in your passport? For example, due to travel agreements between your country and other regions, you can travel on an ID card instead of the passport. So there are many times when you use your ID card for leaving the country and your passport for returning to the country. Well, the reality is I wouldn't worry too much about this. The government knows, and even in Canada, if you come to Canada now, the officers they don't stamp passports anymore. And for years, Canada and U.S. citizens would travel back and forth without ever getting a stamp on their passport. So I wouldn't get too hung up over stamps in the passport. At the end of the day, if you have them, great. You include those within your passport and all the stamp pages. But if you don't have them, I wouldn't get too worried about that. The fact that they don't match up with your travel history, because not all countries issue stamps. Simple as that. Okay, next question. And I'll make a note here, if someone has multiple passports, ordinary citizen passport and diplomatic passport, should all passport and travel under each of them be scanned and documented? No, just use your ordinary passport. Okay. So yeah, you don't have to duplicate that. Use the one that you're going to be using for permanent residence. Okay. I'm just going to stop there, Mauricia, and then I'm going to move on to someone else. But thank you so much for those questions. I really appreciate it. And I appreciate your efforts. Okay. Bella says, hi. Hi, Bella. It's awesome to have you joining. Bella, if you go back and watch some of our past videos, she was one of my special guests, just like Vishal today. And her story is amazing. So you guys need to go and watch it. Bella, post the link to the YouTube video where people can watch your interview on my past EE Live Q&A. I think people would absolutely love it. And you'll get to see my namesake, your little boy, who is awesome. And everybody will get to see this cutest kid in the whole world. So definitely go and post that, Bella. Okay, next question. This one is from, one's from Pandit. And Pandit says, Mark, nice blue t-shirt, Jazdeep. Thanks, Jazdeep. I appreciate it. This is a collared shirt. This is a professional business casual shirt. And I'll also show you this. Check this out. This is professional here. See, I have, I'm wearing my shorts today because I'm recovering nicely from my knee injury. And this is the greatest thing ever. Check this out. Wait a minute. I don't want to pull it off here. I'm going to show you guys this. This is awesome. Okay, check this out. See this thing here? Look at it. This wraps around my knee and it circulates cold ice water through this pump and it helps to ice my knee. And I'm walking around okay after my surgery last Thursday. It's been a little over a week. I was outside yesterday. I was cutting the grass. I was fixing my sprinklers that weren't working properly. And so thanks to that lovely Kodiak cold therapy, it's helping a ton with my healing. So there you go. More information than you guys needed. All right. So today is a short stay. Unfortunately, I don't have any in-person clients today, but I do have a backup pair of slacks here that I use if I need to, if I have a client who's coming in without giving me any advance notice. All right, once again, too much information for you guys. Okay, so here is Pandit, and I better update my timestamp here. This one's 45 because I just wasted a whole bunch of time talking about my blue shirt and my shorts. Okay, hi Mark, hope this mail finds you well. My question for today's EE Q&A are as follow. My spouse is primary and I'm secondary. Okay, okay. All right, so I'll read this quick and then I'll just address an issue. So my spouse is the primary. Our CRS score is 368. Knock codes 2175. After if she's able to increase her score to a CLB 9, it will be 425. And then if he does his WES, it will be 433. So what are the chances for a score of 368? Well, 368 is not going to happen. And as you could see from Vishal, he was around that range. Your only hope is going through one of the PNPs if you are so lucky to be drawn and to be nominated. And so do we have chance to apply for any provinces? Well, it just depends. Every province is different, and I can't go through and give you a full assessment of whether or not you qualify for the provinces. And any advice you wish to give to make it for Canada? Okay, so Pandit, this is a perfect example of a question that really doesn't fit for Express Entry, our Q&A. And the reason is because this is what people pay me for, is to go through and assess their eligibility and give them advice they can trust on, one, whether they ever have a chance of qualifying, and two, things they can do to increase their chances of qualifying. So this one is the exact type of question that people ask me when they're doing a paid consultation with me. So that's the case, Pandit. All right. Next one, and this one's a little bit longer. This one is from AK, and AK says, hi, Mark. I've been following your YouTube videos regarding Canada PR and have found them very helpful on a number of occasions. Thank you so much. And YouTube's actually over 7,000 subscribers now, which is pretty cool because I don't do anything to really market it other than posting videos. I do have a few questions concerning some of my work and education related documents. Okay, so we'll see here because this one is already starting to sound a little bit more specific than our actual general questions that I will answer here in our live Q&As. Okay, so I'll be applying for Canada through Express Entry. I've taken the CRS evaluation and found myself to be eligible. However, before I apply for the next pool, I do have a few concerns which I would prefer dealing with first before I get my ITA. Okay, Canadian education. I've completed electronics engineering degree at DeVry in Alberta. It's a full-time bachelor's degree course. I have the transcripts from the college in a sealed envelope. However, the university is now closed. Will the transcripts from the college suffice as proof enough, even if the college is now closed? Do I have to send the transcripts to West for evaluation? Okay, it's a Canadian degree. It will not be evaluated through West because their whole purpose is to evaluate foreign credentials and equate them to Canadian. If a school was a designated learning institution previously, that's really what it comes down to. And in the case of DeVry, there's only one way you're going to know, and that's by applying, because otherwise you're not going to get points for it. If you can't adhere to what the government asks, and basically what they ask for is a copy of your degree, and you're going to upload it. So you're going to open up the envelope, you're going to provide a copy of it, and I would include your transcripts and any other information that you have to confirm your education at the school. The fact that the school is closed, well, it may or may not be fatal, but there's only one way you're going to know, and that's by just submitting your application, claiming the points, and seeing if it works. Okay? And you know what? You've got a couple other things, AK, but I'm going to actually move on, and I'm going to just try to limit the questions just to one per person. So hopefully that answered your question. Okay, good one, AK. Okay, this one here is from Amrinder, and Amrinder's question is, I'm a PNP candidate. Oh, Amrinder, he's asking GCMS questions. My GCMS notes says eligibility, not started, security, not started, criminality, passed, medical, passed, info sharing, in progress. Any view on this, please? What is info sharing? When you complete your profile and you submit it, you agree to allow each of the government departments to share information about you in order to do things like background checks, security screening, all of those kinds of things to disclose to other government departments in order for them to do those background checks and things. So information sharing is just a part of what they do in the course of an application, and it can encompass a lot of different things, not just security, because as you've indicated here, security is not started, eligibility not started. One thing you have to understand too, criminality, medical, you've passed both of those. Info sharing is a part of all of those, okay? And so don't trust just because the status says not started, not started. There actually has to be an action done by an officer to initiate any change within GCMS. And the reason it is so big, so long, those access to information and privacy reports that come back showing your GCMS notes, the reason it's so long and so many pages is because every step, every time an officer touches your file, a record is created within GCMS. And that's why it's so long and so full of information that really isn't even important. So that is the case. All right. And so that is Amrinder's question. Great question about GCMS. Okay. And, the last one, this question is from Envis. And Envis says, hello, I have a question about your Q&A live today. In case you change your country of residence after the ITA is issued, and consequently after an application for permanent residence is sent by the applicant, so this is the eAPR, does the applicant have to declare this fact? Does this change of residence affect the outcome of the application for permanent residence in Canada? Thank you in advance. So it says changing residence after you get your ITA and after your eAPR has been submitted. Well, when you're going through that process, you have an obligation to maintain a current address with immigration. So if you did change your address, then usually what we do is submit a case-specific inquiry indicating that your address has changed. Now, as all of you guys know, within Express Entry, your application is basically locked in once it reaches the acknowledgement of receipt stage or the completeness stage. And when they do that completeness check, then things are locked in, your address, everything else. They don't worry too much about what happens after. But if they want to get in contact with you, they're never going to mail you anything. Everything is electronic. It's all via email. But notwithstanding all of those things, I still go out of my way to update immigration because you have an obligation to notify them of your current address and contact information. So that's what I do. So good. Thanks, Envis. I appreciate that question. And guys, we had just a slew of awesome questions. I didn't throw them today because I'm trying to keep organized so that as soon as this is done, I can then jump on and I can update the description with all these timestamps so that people who are watching this video later will be able to search for the section that applies to them and they can make the most out of these questions. All right? Because let's face it, an hour long to just sit and sift through hoping you're going to find the right topic is people just don't have that kind of time unless you are one of my favorite people in the world and you're actually watching this live and joining me. So with that being said, all of you awesome people, it is now time to get you to share with me, and I think we're still cruising here, to share with me your comments. And so I'm going to take just a few, and then from there, we're going to wrap it up because we're already just about at the 1 hour mark. So if you have a question now, now's the time to ask it, and I'll just answer some live questions right now. So we'll see here if people are able to fire off some new questions for me. Okay, ZZ, here's a question from him. You rule, man. You are definitely getting your question answered. 3 a.m., which is probably now 4 a.m. for you. Japan, awesome. Okay, does the right of permanent residence fee guarantees PPR? How long till PPR? Okay, so the right of permanent residence fee is just the processing fee that the government charges you, the extra $490 that they charge just as a fee for finalizing your permanent residence. And that fee goes into all of the costs of administering the immigration program in Canada, all of the officers, all of the infrastructure. That's what those processing fees are for. And so, no, it doesn't guarantee your PPR. And as we've indicated before, how long till PPR? Well, passport requests, it just depends. If you're asking for PPR, in order to get your permanent residence approved, they process up to 80% under 6 months, just like I indicated before. And when it comes to, if you get your confirmation of permanent residence and now you are looking to get you've received your passport request, to get to that stage, it's right around, it just depends. Every visa office is different. If you're in Canada going through the Canadian Experience class, sometimes that is a lot faster than if you are to go through maybe overseas through the Federal Skilled Worker Program, and your country has a high rate of fraud. Sometimes that takes a little bit longer for them to do the background checks. So I hope that answers your question, ZZ. But thanks so much for joining. I really appreciate it. Okay, let's see. And these questions need to be a little bit smaller. Okay, Jian says, hello, Mark. My wife is the principal applicant, and her previous name was Harpreet Kaur, without any last name on all official documents. But when I'm filing her previous name without last name in the personal details section, an error shows that last name is mandatory. What should I do? Okay, so this is a question that I'm going to have to pull offline because, Gian, it's just a little bit more detailed than normal. And so I'm going to answer this one offline, and then I'll post it in the comment section below your question. So I'll make a note of that for Gian to answer that question. It's just a little bit more involved, and it would take a little bit longer to kind of give you direction. Okay. Okay, Arnish says, I will complete my 1-year Ontario graduate certificate program soon, and I have a bachelor's degree in engineering from India, which is equivalent to a bachelor's in Canada under West. Great. Which option I should select? Should I select bachelor's degree, or should I select 2 or more certificates? One must be programmed for 3 or more years. So here's how it works. And that's actually a really, really good question, because when it comes to your credentials, you are including both your Canadian and your foreign credentials to get your total education. So the proper answer would be 2 or more. And it's interesting. That's a question that I don't think I've ever gotten before. But yeah, if you've got foreign education and Canadian, it's going to be listed as 2 or more if you've got it here in Canada. Now, you're going to get double points because of Canadian education, depending on the length of your program. But yeah, you're free to do that. And I understand that's a great question. That is actually an awesome question. So I'm going to make a note here of our Nish's question, and that was at 57. Okay. All right. Next question. Okay, let's see here. Okay, Envis, I've already answered your question. Okay, Fatima. Fatima says, hello, Mark. What are the requirements for PEI PNP? Okay, is there a cost involved? Can we pre-apply? Is it one of the easier programs to apply? Okay, and Fatima's from South Africa. Fatima, I will put a link as well to the, you can actually just Google it too. Go to PEI PNP and just Google it, and you will get the link to all the information that you need to apply to that program. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Do you know what, guys? I think. Okay. So Ibra says, is it possible to talk about French-speaking programs? No, we're just talking about Express Entry today. Jawdat says, may I know if we book consultation and we have more questions than what we could discuss in 30 minutes, should we book another 30? So after 30 minutes, I bill on 6-minute increments. So if it's 36 minutes, then I bill a 0.1 more. So I actually start to prorate it after 30 minutes. So you're only billed for the exact time that you need. So if you have just a few questions more than 30 minutes, I don't bill a whole new 30 minutes. It's just that it has to be at least 30 minutes to make it worth our time here in the office, and that's why I do that. Okay. Grav says, sir, I'm stuck on IP1 from last 2 months, and my few friends get PPR within 1 to 2 months. What may be the reason behind this? Grav, everybody's processed differently. And excuse me, you can't compare yourself to your friends. It could be a different officer. It could be a whole host of things. And this is one of the greatest challenges I have. Just because it worked a certain way for some other person, they are not then the expert who can then answer all questions, and their experience isn't necessarily reflective of what you're going to experience. So you have to appreciate that everybody is different, and you are still well within processing times, my friend. Okay. All right. So I'm going to end right there with the question from Grav. And I want to thank all of you guys for joining me today in my Express Entry Complete Step-by-Step. Well, in my Express Entry Law EE Live Q&A session today. And if you have questions that you want answered, remember all you need to do is send me an email to mholthy@stringham.ca. And don't forget to put EE Live Q&A right here in the subject line, and your questions will be given priority. If there's a little bit of time after leading up to the 1 hour, then I'll try to jump on and answer some questions from the live guests like I did today. But if you want your question answered, the best way to do it is here. Remember, it needs to be a question that is 100% general in nature, not specific. If you have a specific question, then you can book a consult with me anytime, a paid consult, and I'd be happy to help you. All right, this is Mark Holthe today, Canadian immigration lawyer, ex-immigration officer, and former high school teacher, signing off. And I'm wishing all of you guys the very best as you navigate this crazy world that we call Express Entry. Take care.